the Underpowered Hour. On this week's action-packed episode, we get the G4 Freelander back, Rovers on YouTube, a Greek Peak update, and Land Rovers in the movies. And now, without any further delay, here's the show. Welcome to the Underpowered Hour. I'm Steve Barris, mild-mannered television executive by day and Land Rover collector by night. You can find out more about our cars and what we're working on at thebarriscollection.com or follow us on Instagram at thebarriscollection. I'm joined, as always, by my good friend, Ike Goss.
Thank you to everyone joining us today.
I'm the chipped and fading enamel to Steven's bespoke premium palette. I'm the dull finish of podcasting, Ike Goss.
I own and operate Pangolin 4x4 in Springfield, Oregon, where we live and breathe Land Rovers. Check us out online on Facebook, Instagram at Pangolin 4x4. Let's get started.
All right, Ike. Well, I am back from the brief break. I hear you and Liza have decided that you're just going to move in your own direction with the show. So, it's been great. It's been a fun 119 episodes, and I hope you two are very happy together.
It's nothing personal. We just looked at the numbers, and they speak for themselves.
It's true. It's undeniable. The funny thing is, all of those surveyed said, "Can you just not do the show at all? Is that an option? Did you guys just stop? Is that no? Okay."
It may happen. There's a case winding its way through the courts right now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So there may be an injunction filed. Exactly. We're working on having it stopped, but the courts are a slow-moving entity. So
wheels of justice and all that.
Yeah, all that.
Turning slowly.
The states versus the Underpowered Hour. So speaking of in the courts, as you know, the talented Jaguar Land Rover has formally changed their name to JLR.
Now, what were they before? Remind me what they called themselves before.
I believe they called themselves JLR. Yeah.
Oh, and what are they calling themselves now?
Now they're calling themselves JLR.
Oh,
so I think,
right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very clear.
Because as you know, one of the core tenets of a premium brand is clarity.
Clarity,
brand confusion, sorting out brand confusion.
So what does JLR stand for?
It stands for JLR.
Oh,
yeah,
I gotcha.
Yeah. It used to stand for Jaguar Land Rover. Now it stands for JLR.
I see. That makes it much clearer.
Yeah, I think they took the dots out between the letters. Speaking of taking the dots out between the letters, the reason that it is news again this week is that the formal JLR logo has finally been released. It's hotly anticipated. Everybody has been waiting for this. People stayed up overnight, lined up outside of venues, I'm sure, to understand what this new JLR.
I took a look at the new logo.
Yeah. What do you think?
An acronym abbreviates, several words, right?
Yes, right.
And the new JLR logo is an abbreviated acronym. If you look at it, you'll see there's a J.
Right. Yes,
there's an L, and then there's half of an R.
There's half of an R. Yeah, that's
and
right.
the L is kind of like the rest of the R.
Yeah.
So they're just pretty soon it's just going to be one letter.
One would even argue that it's only sort of like 2/3 of a J as well. It's a very, very short little hook on the J.
Yeah, it's a good point there.
So it is. It's missing almost a letter and a half.
It's just getting less.
It's getting less. Yeah, it's a. Well, reductive design, right? Is that not one of the core principles of JLR is the reductive design? So they redacted a lot of that logo.
Yeah, it's getting there.
Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, but it's a reminiscent a little bit for me of the company that made the Terminators and the Terminator movies. It feels like that might be their logo. Or it might be like an offshoot of NASA, like a European version of NASA.
Like Skynet. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. It's like a Skynet logo, or the Ukrainian space service or something, or one of these like an off-brand European space agency.
This is what it reminds you of, the logo.
A little bit. Yeah, what does it remind you of?
Well, I need to ruminate on that a little bit.
You just have to kind of ponder it, I think.
It's like a Rorschach, it's kind of like, what do you see? And
everybody sees something slightly different. Yeah,
that's fair to say.
Yeah, I
That's
think
fair
so.
to say.
If you stare at it long enough, apparently you see a Range Rover Evoque. So
Yeah, it's a magic eye.
it's a magic eye, but you have to cross your eyes and then uncross them, and then the R turns into an Evoque.
That makes
It's
sense.
pretty cool. Yeah.
Now, within this new branding strategy, you have what's called a house of brands.
That's
they,
right.
They
The
say.
house of brands.
Would you say that's is that a company? Is that what that is?
I think traditionally that's what you would call a company. Yeah,
company.
I think you could describe a company as a house of brands. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's the company formerly known as the company that is now the company. So.
And within this company, the brands are what?
Are sort of, they're almost houses, if you will, brands housed within the company, if you will.
I see. And these brands that they're I guess they're bringing the brands to the forefront of their marketing strategy somehow.
I suppose they're marketing their brands. This company is.
Before this, what were they doing?
I believe they were marketing their brands. Yeah. So no, I think if anything, this has really cleared things up for people and made everything a lot clearer, a lot simpler. These changes, I think, are going to make all the difference.
So like if you were to refer to an individual model, you would say like a Range Rover,
right?
Who would make Range Rover? Range Rover makes Range Rover.
I think
or JLR makes Range Rover.
Well, that's a great question. Is it
a
JLR
Land Rover Range Rover?
I think it may now be a JLR Land Rover Range Rover. Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I think it's again reductive, simple, easy to understand. I think
clear.
They've hit all the marks.
Clear to me.
Hit it out of the ballpark. Yeah, no, it's great. They're doing a great job.
Oh man.
Speaking of doing a great job, there is the brand new, all new Range Rover Sport SV Edition. Our good friends in Oxfordshire, there over by the classic,
Classic
Land Rover
Works.
Classic Works, Jaguar Classic Works, have this incredible
JLR Classic Works.
No. The Jaguar Classic Works and the Land Rover Classic Works. Those are brands housed within the JLR house of brands. Yeah, no, it's very easy. Very easy.
Okay. All right. Back to the new car.
The special vehicles unit, SV operations there, what used to be SVO and now is like just, I think, SV. But anyways, they're like James Bond.
It's going to be S in a minute.
It's going to be S and half a V. It's going to look like a check mark. They're going to kind of squeeze the S in there. It's going to be great. It's going to be great. But they're making a SV edition of the famous new Range Rover Sport, which is, of course, makes sense. The SV version of the full-fat Range Rover is super fantastic and over the top. And it's kind of interesting because remember, special vehicles back in the day did less like always available editions of cars and either did custom-made work, and sometimes that was like putting a bucket lift in the back of a 130, and sometimes that was making some kind of fancy Range Rover. But now there's this sort of ongoing version of a fancy Range Rover that is just sort of a stocked item. You can just buy the SV version and you get all the sort of, I guess maybe it's the, you go to the salad bar place and they've got all the individual components, but then they've just got like one bowl. It's just like a regular salad. So if you're lazy, you can just get that one. This is sort of the SV is the premixed salad of the Land Rover range, I think, or the JLR Land Rover Range Rover SV range.
I see. I see. So this new car, is it faster than the old car? Is it? It
is definitely the most dangerous Range Rover ever created. This guy has 626 horsepower, which is cool. I think it really puts the sport in Range Rover Sport, which for a little while there, sport just meant smaller, I think. And now, that is a significant car. That one would be super fun to drive, I imagine.
And this has a BMW derived twin turbo engine.
I believe that's right? True. Yeah, I believe this is the BMW sourced 4.4 liter V8, which is actually smaller, I think, than the previous motor, but puts out like a zillion horsepower and goes a billion miles an hour. And
it's interesting to me that both Land Rover and its competitor, the Ineos Grenadier,
yeah,
are also using BMW-derived engines.
It's funny, BMW's OEM engine program, like their B2B engine program, both funny enough in their, motorcycle, small engine, scooter and motorcycle engines, as well as their car engines. I think it's a huge part of their business. I don't know how much of it is, that versus making cars. I think making cars is probably still significantly more. But yeah, they have a really, really healthy third-party engine business. It's interesting. I don't know how many other manufacturers do that. I know that you can get crate motors from all kinds of people, but it does seem that if it's a car made overseas and it doesn't have an engine sourced from that car maker, that it's probably a BMW engine.
It's a long history of BMW supplying engines for Land Rovers, like the South African Defender variant, classic Defender, I should say, has a BMW-derived engine, and then obviously BMW owned Land Rover at one stage, and now they're still making engines for Land Rovers. It's amazing. Yeah,
it's pretty cool. So yeah, the SV is going to be $100 billion, of course. Well over $108,000. Which actually isn't, honestly, in the world of that kind of car, it's actually not that bad. That's not insanely expensive.
I can't afford not to buy it.
That's exactly right. I mean, all your friends are going to have one. And I have been to the SV, secret lair there, and it really is amazing. I mean,
it really is secret too. They have a special secret door.
Yeah.
And the only reason they let us in is because we saw it open a little bit, a crack.
Yeah, that's right. We
slipped through. We ferreted in there. And they have a lounge that it has I'm going to try and describe it. It's I want to say the bridge of the Starship Enterprise.
It does feel a little Starship Enterprise-y, you're right.
It has a central seating location with a giant screen in front of it. Yep. And it's like a big configurator.
Yes, and the gentleman stands behind you and configurator.
Configurator. At any rate, you sit there and you pick out your finishes, your paints, your interiors, and then it generates a rendering of this car. And then you're like, more metal flake, more metal flake, more metal flake. And you just ramp it up until it looks like a bass boat.
Just a mirror ball. And you can get little embellishments on the door handles. I mean, it really, they kind of can do anything you want.
Except put a cherry picker in the back.
They won't put a cherry picker in the back anymore.
Not anymore. They used to.
They'll make it bulletproof, but they will not put a welder in there for you.
No, they won't. You can't get mud tires on a Land Rover anymore. Do you know that? You can't order. You can get all-terrains.
The Defender doesn't have it only has all-terrains on the Defender.
All-terrains only. Can't get a mud tire. As far as I know, there may be a savvy listener out there that will correct me on this, but I think you cannot get a mud tire on a Land Rover from Land Rover.
That's an interesting. I didn't know that. Well, it's hard to find a mud terrain that fits on the steel wheels of the Defender because they're so much bigger than they should be. It's really hard to find a good matching tire size, and the mag wheels for the new Defender, very difficult to find a decent tire for that particular size of wheel. It's challenging when wheels keep getting bigger, but wheel arches aren't really getting any bigger. So you're stuck with either lifting the car up or doing something silly to it. We'll have to see. Coincidentally, I am looking for mud terrain tires for my Freelander, and it is not easy.
You looking for mud terrain tires for your Freelander? That indicates that it may be close to moving under its own power, or is this just for looks?
It is an amazing thing. This weekend, I headed down to our good friend Ed Testa's compound down there just outside of Lake Elsinore, California, and trailered up the Undisputed King of Land Rovers, the G4 Edition Freelander, and did in fact then take it for a little drive around the neighborhood under its own power. It's actually here at the workshop, moving and driving. 30 seconds after taking it off the trailer, the check engine light came on, though. So.
Would you say it is better and more capable of taking a trip now than it was when you purchased it? What was that, 10 months ago?
That was about a year ago now. Hard to say.
Hard to say.
Yeah, hard to say. Definitely not a sure thing. Maybe. Probably not. I want to say when I picked it up, all the check engine lights were turned off. So I can go in and turn them off. But I did find the correct Land Rover computer, the scope tool that Land Rover used in dealers for the Freelander, and got one on eBay. So that is coming my way. I imagine it also won't work. So looking forward to that. Looking forward to figuring that out.
So this tool is going to tell you what?
Just all the things. It's just going to say no. It's just going to say the word no when you plug it into the Freelander.
It's going to say you have a polyp.
Yeah, the little paperclip guy is gonna come up and say, "I see you bought a car you shouldn't have. Would you like help selling it?" Or it'll just give you directions to the nearest automotive recycling center.
Cars for clunkers.
It's just a Cash for Cars.
Or Cash for Clunkers.
The Kidney Foundation just shows up with the package from email.
How many Freelanders do you think? And this is something I think we can look up.
Yeah.
How many Freelanders were turned in with the Cash for Clunkers program? We should look that up.
I got to think it's the most popular car.
I'm told the NAS 110 went to Cash for Clunkers. Somebody got a whopping $6,000 for it.
Oh my, that's hilarious. But they would just fix it and sell it. So they probably turned around. Nope. They have to destroy it?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. If you want to get rid of your NAS 110,
thanks,
$6,000,
Obama.
you can get it, there you have it. So the next time, most people will probably see the Undisputed King of Land Rovers, the G4 Edition Freelander. Liza is going to start a video series where she is actually going to go through and do all the maintenance and try to do some restoration work on that car. And those will be on our YouTube and TikTok and all that sort of stuff. So if you're into vintage Freelander restoration, then
what year is that Freelander again?
2003.
2003.
Yeah. It is
20 years old.
20 years old. It's the first car I've ever owned with an OBD2 port in it. And I can actually plug that thing into that, and apparently it will tell you things. So I don't know.
Tell you this was a mistake.
Yeah, it'll just say, no, this is a bad idea. Why would you do this? Why?
Please kill me.
Please kill me. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
It's just the car talking.
Yeah, it's just the car, like, don't let me die. Some kind of terrible transporter accident. But anyways, speaking of content going out on the World Wide Web, which I'm told are a series of tubes that interconnect us together. We have the segment we've done before, Rovers on the internet, but in this case specifically, Rovers on YouTube, starting with a video that actually this is informed by our fantastic Facebook group community. A lot of listeners are in that Facebook group. If you listen and you're not in the Facebook group, are you really listening? You can find out about much more timely information on the Freelander posted there on the Facebook group.
It's also a great place to insult both of us.
Oh, that's mostly what it is Dixon making fun of us. So, if you'd like to just hop on there at any point. Yeah. So Jay Leno, famous car collector, Los Angeles personality, former host of The Tonight Show, has, of course, the Jay Leno's Garage Show, which is his YouTube channel where he invites people into his mega warehouse in Burbank full of every kind of incredible car and steam engine and everything else. And usually these cars are, he's had the Tumbler Mobile, he's had legendary race cars, he's had just incredible prototype vehicles and all of this sort of stuff. So naturally, when he sought out a Land Rover, he called the gentleman that runs Drive Copy to bring in a very pedestrian Series 3 X mod pickup truck.
Now, the Drive Coffee folks are real nice, and they were kind enough to make us some custom coffee containers for our Steve McQueen vehicle and other things, and they make a nice product. They're good folks, but this particular episode, which I haven't seen, by the way, I like that I'm reviewing that and haven't seen it. I'm told. Well, why don't you take it away?
Well, here's the thing. I think that, it's an interesting choice, right? But I agree. The gentleman that runs Drive Coffee is a nice guy, and the Trophy Cold Brew, has a Defender on it. He's an enthusiast for sure. He's into Land Rovers, and it was an interesting. It's this sort of interesting thing where Jay Leno kind of pretends to not really know anything about a car, but probably knows more about the car than the person that he's talking to. And they drove it around Los Angeles and bumped through a couple of little gravel road, kind of unpaved lot sort of things. And Jay seemed to be having a good time. And we opened it up to a poll, I believe on Instagram, starting on Monday or Tuesday, of the, who would our audience rather see on the Jay Leno show. We'll start a letter writing campaign to get either you in the Forest Rover or me in the, of course, undisputed King of Land Rovers, the G4 Freelander. I think it would take either of us just as much maintenance along the way to get there, and I only have to drive 30 miles. So
I feel like they've done 2 Land Rover segments. The first was,
I think they've done a couple, yeah.
Yeah, they've done 2 series Land Rovers, and somebody needs to get in hold of their production team.
Yeah. I have to say, every Land Rover that's ever been on the Jay Leno thing is, at best, is sort of not great.
Well, maybe that's the most representative examples they could find.
Yeah. I guess so. I mean, I don't know. Is there a huge amount of great Land Rovers in the Los Angeles area? I guess not. I guess there mustn't be because, anyways, I mean, you never know.
They should have called you. They should have called you.
Should have called, I guess. Yeah. I spoke with the gentleman that does the car evaluating for that Jay Leno show on MSNBC or CNBC, whichever one it's on. And I spoke with him at an event or something, and he said, "Oh, I wish I would have known that, you had an 80-inch. We had to, I don't know what they had to do to like get one for a segment they were doing, but couldn't find." I'm like, well, yeah, that's fine. No problem. No problem, Jay Leno people. But speaking of couldn't find one, Linus, our good friend, this isn't necessarily a Rover thing, but I think, like Air Force One,
it's off-road related.
In a car, yeah, it's close enough. Yeah,
and let's be honest, and I'm going to point this out. Next episode, we're talking about cars I like. The last 2 episodes have just been like all this Range Rover, Freelander crap. I'm not doing it anymore. Put my foot down. Put my foot down.
Hey, we're just giving people what they want.
You're probably right. Right. They're like the most highly rated episodes ever. At any rate, Linus took his old car. When I say old, I mean old. 102 years old. Took his 1921 Studibacker out. Yeah. He's very into antique auto camping. And so what that means is like running board kitchens and old lanterns and, sportsman's sort of regalia and these sorts of things. It's like cosplay for nerds.
For those people who don't know, we're pretty sure that Linus fell through some type of a portal in the 1800s and ended up in our time and has just been kind of making the best of it.
1920s. Yeah, 1920s. That's the era, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't go too old. It's like showing up to like as a Lord of the Rings character to a Star Wars convention or something like that. You got to get the right period of time. So
I do believe there's a gentleman that goes to Star Wars conventions dressed as Mr. Spock and just gives everyone the finger. That's his cosplay, which I really appreciate. He really looks like Leonard Nimoy too, and it's great. It's a good cosplay, a good dedication.
Yeah. Well, maybe I should do that Linus's next camping adventure. At any rate, he took the 1921 Studibacker out on a off-road camping excursion. Now, this sort of recreates a time period where there weren't a lot of paved roads, right?
Right.
So people would take their cars and they would drive, and that just was off-roading because there were no significant, road infrastructure at the time. So, so they find a bunch of back roads, dirt roads, etc. They drive old-timey cars, mostly early Fords for Model Ts, Model As, these sorts of things. Linus has a Studibacker, which is a big car of the period. Has a over 300 cubic inch inline 6-cylinder engine. And they went down some dirt roads in Eastern Oregon, and it was muddy. And then it rained. And then it was muddier, and they got the cars very badly stuck. And
again, the tires on those cars, they're
narrow.
They're sort of bicycle wheels, nearly. And not a lot. I don't think you can get a mud train for a 100-year-old Studibacker.
No, you can get chains. And, I will say that those old cars have quite a bit of ground clearance. So they're fairly capable, but still 2-wheel drive and still relatively smooth tires, So when they get bogged, they're stuck. And, the bigger cars are super heavy. They don't like to move. So they required the services of Casey LaDelle.
Oh, the famous YouTube off-road recovery Casey LaDelle. I mean, that's big. It's part of the sort of in the family, if you will, of the Matt's off-road recovery YouTube channel. It's probably the most famous.
Part of the constellation of stars within the off-road recovery universe.
He certainly is. He's an important constellation, Casey LaDelle. So how did that come about? And we'll have Linus on to talk about it at some point. But did he call Casey LaDelle? Did Casey LaDelle happen to jeep on by and see if he needed recovery?
So I don't know who called, but I got notice that they were stuck on Saturday evening, something like that. Yeah. And I was like, okay, well, call me if you need me to come out there. But it's like an 8-hour drive. It's a long drive.
Right.
So apparently they found Casey was quite a bit closer. And not only that, he will recover you if you agree to be on his YouTube channel.
Right, that's right.
No cost.
I didn't realize that was sort of the deal with those companies, but that if you're on the YouTube, then you don't really have to pay for the recovery, I think, in most cases. It's a good deal.
I mean, it's a good deal if you're stuck.
Yeah.
So, and they were stuck. And I think a traditional off-road recovery service would have been quite expensive.
Right.
Quite expensive. Usually they're about $1,000 an hour once they leave to pave a road. So
well,
quite costly.
Definitely worth. We'll put both of those episodes into the show notes, and I believe if you're on our Facebook group, I think that the Casey Lindell video is already up there, as a few people have seen. It's got a ton. It's actually, funny enough, it's, I would say, performing much better than his average video. And
I mean, it's more interesting, right?
It's insane.
It's not some redneck with a brodozer that's stuck. It's like a bunch of old cars. It's really neat.
A bunch of old cars, and Linus, who looks more prospector-y than normal with his big straw hat, and it's just like fantastic. He is cosplaying as a 1920s farmer. It's great. It's great. Speaking of cosplaying, upcoming now, like we're within the 2-week margin here of getting ready for the Anarch 75th anniversary Diamond Jubilee event at the Greek Peak Ski Resort there in New York. And we're going to be there. You and I are going to be there. Abigail's going to be there. All of the Center Steer folks are going to be there. Luminaries, honorees, Jeff Aronson. It's going to be all your favorite Land Rover people will be there. Jeffrey Ahuden, I believe, will be there. Our good friend from Land Rover. Nice. Or I'm sorry, our good friend from JLR.
Now, wait, now that's a whole separate situation, right? You've got, is it JLR North America now? Is that what it is?
I don't know the answer to that question. I believe that to be true.
And follow-up question, if you go to New York or New Jersey where their headquarters are,
yes,
the road is like Jaguar Land Rover Road.
Oh, no.
Are they going to have to rename the street?
I think so. I mean, I think the branding exercise needs to be holistic. Yeah.
Wow.
It's a big job. Might have to get Jeffrey back on the show and chat about it. I'm sure he'd be more than interested to talk for an hour about the JLR rebranding project. I'm sure that's exactly what he looks forward to.
Big operation.
Anyway, so we'll be there. We are kicking off Thursday night with our very good friends at the Center Steer podcast. Morgan, Dixon, Harold, they're all going to be there. John, of course. Now, what we have to do is recruit 2 other people to be on our side of the panel. As it's just you and I, we've got to find 2 other Land Rover community members that can match wits and can match the breadth and depth of information that is provided. I mean, just solely by Dixon, forget about, everybody else. Harold and Morgan, just Dixon alone is an encyclopedia of forgotten Land Rover information. So we're going to have to give it some serious thought. We're going to have to really rack our brains on who just the right people are to balance out Team Underpowered. So, We'll have to see.
This is the first time hearing about this.
Yeah.
I don't want to participate.
Yeah, well, it's too late. We're locked in. And as Bob Steele says, every time I talk to him, you guys are really setting the tone for the entire event that night. It's going to be a big thing.
What have you gotten me into, Steven?
I know. I just say yes. That's the problem. I think that's how you end up with a G4 Freelander. You just say yes. You should say no sometimes.
What have I done?
Yeah, so it'll be great. We're going to do podcasts throughout the weekend. Please do come and say hello. We'll have stickers. We will have merch with us a little bit that we can sell you if you would like it. We're more than happy to buy your merch. Whatever. Let's just make it a free trade of goods. It'd be like Settlers of Catan up there, just trading T-shirts and stickers. Looking forward to that. We will have at least one celebrity underpowered hour vehicle there. Who knows? Maybe more. It's hard to say. It's
see what happens.
So to end off the episode, we have a beloved and yet frequently forgotten about segment, Land Rovers in the movies. Of course, this is not a movie. This is a television show. But you found, if you will, a show that has a NAS 110 in it, I believe.
That's true. Yeah, there's a show on the History Channel, I believe, called Found, where people find extraordinarily unusual objects, and some pseudoscience type dudes drive around in a Land Rover 110, and they analyze it, and then they basically Google it, and then they tell them what these people found, and usually it's like part of an old board game or whatever, but occasionally it's something interesting, engraved tablet from the Revolutionary War,
right,
or some such.
Yeah, This is the Shroud of Turin, is what you have here. That's weird that you have that. Where did you find that?
Yeah,
it's been in the barn for years.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's sort of a Antiques Roadshow meets Oak Island meets
That's great. That's good. Actually sounds, you know what? You've sold me. That sounds like a great show. It sounds like a great show.
Do you like the Oak Island? Do you like the Oak Island?
I like the Oak Island. I just love something about people who have been digging a hole that keeps filling up with water for like the last 40 years. Like
I think it's amazing. My favorite part is they found like $4.33 worth of crap, and they've managed to like purvey that into like a huge empire of treasure hunting enthusiasts. It's really amazing.
Oh yeah, you can do planned vacation experiences to Oak Island where they'll wild. You can stay there. They'll take you on a little treasure hunt. I think they just bury the shit the day before.
Incredibly popular show. Incredibly popular show. It's like one guy with a metal detector, another guy with an excavator, and then like a bunch of dudes like positing theories, you know, like, it's aliens, it's Knights Templar, it's all these things. It's Captain Kidd, it's pirates, it's all, and they never find anything.
Yeah, they never find anything.
I love that. In the last episode of the last season, they literally like went down this deep hole that they'd been digging the entire season. They took a metal detector down there, and the guy gets to the bottom. He's like, "Oh, there's something really big, but we don't have time to talk about it this season.
See you next year.
See you next year."
Yeah. It's great. We ought to end the podcast like that. I think that's it's that they're doing
just a cliffhanger. Every episode is a cliffhanger.
Yeah, that's right.
Oh my god, we found the coolest Land Rover that we can't talk about right now.
Next episode for anyways. Well, and at that, unfortunately, we've ran out of time for Ike's Nando's review this week. We'll have to get that on next episode for sure. We'll get to it, but hopefully get ready for a Greek Peak with your whole variety of Underpowered Hour merchandise available now from the underpoweredhour.com website, where you can get t-shirts. Logo t-shirts are back in stock. We've got the ones with the white our little Rover, the Underpowered Rover, and our logo on the front of it. So if you're interested in one of those, please stop by and grab it. We've got new stickers. We've got special stickers just for Greek Peak. They will only be available there. And so looking forward to those. So if you see us, say hello and we'll give you a sticker. It's going to be great. All right, sir. Well, as always, it's been a slice.
See you on the trail.
The Underpowered Hour is produced by Liza Veris, Ike Goss, and me, Steve Veris. Pavel Svardov composed and performed our theme music. Consider supporting the show on Patreon, and if you already do, thank you. Your support makes the show possible. For even more, check out our Instagram or Facebook.